Hi, and welcome to this episode of Balance, Clarity and Calm with me, Sam James. I'm a life coach and a positive psychology practitioner, and I work with people to find ways of supporting their own well-being so that they can get out of life what they really want to get out of life in a healthy, sustainable way. In today's episode, I thought that we would chat about those moments when we are on our knees and really want and need somebody to come and help us. Yet nobody seems to get it. Nobody seems to notice that we're on our knees. And why is that? Why isn't there somebody that just can kind of come and put their arms around us and kind of say, it's all right, let me help you? And I'm going to start this kind of conversation with sharing an experience from my own journey. And it was a few years ago when our daughter was maybe about 3 or 4 months old. I was struggling. I would kind of hit that wall of tiredness, the kind of endless nighttime wake-ups and feeds and teething and all of that stuff. So I was really struggling, and the hormones were going all bonkers, and struggling to being a mum with 2 and all of that stuff that goes on for us in those early days of parenthood. And I remember feeling and thinking inside, why can't anybody see what's going on? Why isn't anybody just coming and looking after me and just offering to help me? And in particular, why isn't my mum noticing? And the thing that was different was that with our first child, we were in South Wales and we were a long way away from all of our parents. Whereas this time we'd moved back to Norfolk and I was like 2 miles from my mum and dad, and we saw them really regularly. And inside I was thinking, I just want her to come and just drop off a meal, or just come and do my washing for me, or just those really practical things that in those moments you just want somebody to come and take the load off you. And eventually everything kind of all got a bit too much for me, and I think I kind of had a bit of a meltdown, and ended up having a really honest conversation with my mum. And when I said to her, but why aren't you, why haven't you, do you know what she said to me? Well, because I didn't know you needed it. You seemed to be doing okay, and I thought that things were okay, and I didn't want to intrude, I didn't want to overstep the mark, I didn't want to interfere. And when she said that, I kind of stopped and I thought, oh, so she can't see what's going on in here and in here. So actually there was me getting frustrated, feeling like it must be really flipping obvious, but in reality it wasn't. And that's often the case, that for us we feel like our world is crumbling and that it must be really obvious because we feel like we're failing at everything and can't keep on top of everything, so it must be obvious. But in reality it isn't. And there's lots of potential reasons for that, because people are living their lives and are in their own kind of stories in their heads. But also there's those times where there is so many kind of social expectations and things that get in the way of sometimes these honest conversations. So my kind of message for you is, don't wait for somebody to notice. Don't wait for somebody to be able to second guess and see that you need that help. Ask for it. So because otherwise all sorts of other things start happening. We can start to feel resentful, we can start to feel like nobody cares, and we can build up this narrative in our head that can lead to us feeling quite lonely and like we have to carry that load on our own. And especially within a household, it's really important that we can share this stuff. It's one of the things that you may well have heard me talk about before, is doing a good old brain dump and actually getting everything down for the other person to be able to see all of the things that you are carrying and all of the things that you are thinking about, because they'll have a whole other set of things that are in their head, and they may not even know that there's all this other stuff that needs doing. So my top tips are to stop waiting for people to come and rescue you and to come and put those loving, nurturing arms around you, because they're not going to be able to, because they won't necessarily know that you need it, or they might not want to impose themselves on you. So ask. And if you struggle with that idea of asking for help, just pause for a moment and imagine that your sibling or your best friend or a colleague were to reach out to you and say, can you help me right now? I'm struggling with this thing. How would you feel? And the majority of the time, we actually feel a sense of privilege. We feel quite honoured that somebody has reached out and asked us for help. And what we know from some of the research is that being given opportunities to be able to do acts of kindness for each other is really positive for everybody's well-being. So actually you're giving people an opportunity to help you, and also they'll get some feel-goods themselves as well. And it's a nice thing to be able to do to support each other. So yeah, kind of like don't hold back. And when you are going to ask for help, make sure that you're being really clear. Don't leave anything open to interpretation, because when you have kind of got yourself into that position, built yourself up to, right, okay, actually, do you know what? I am going to ask for some help now. The last thing you want is for somebody to misunderstand and to then there be that sense of disappointment because actually they haven't done the thing that you were really needing them to do. So don't be vague, be really, really clear, get really specific about what it is you need. So, you know, times, dates, exactly what it is that you're asking of them. And if you can, share with them why, like what a difference that's going to make for you, why it's important for you. Give a little bit of context, because again, that then helps the other person understand where you're coming from. So don't be afraid to let that mask down and to actually show that you are human, and that you're not a superhuman, that actually you have your limits, and that you need some support in sharing that load. Because the more that we can have these conversations and normalise asking for help, the happier we will all be, and the less alone we will feel with things. So next time it's all feeling a bit too much, just pause and think, what would I want somebody to do if they were feeling like this? And I bet what you would want them to do is you would want them to reach out to you. I mean, maybe even have some conversations with some friends and agree kind of like an SOS kind of signal, like actually sort of share what those things are when those moments are that you are likely to be most in need. And let's normalise helping each other and asking for help, because it just makes it, we can work as a team instead of everybody feeling like they're on their own with the load. So if this has been useful, then please feel free to share with other friends and family. And if you feel like this is the kind of thing you could do with more support with, then please get in touch, whether that's for one-to-one or whether it's part of the group coaching programs I run, where we look at these things that get in the way of our well-being, and how we can start to share tips and ways to support and encourage each other to make positive changes for our own well-being and for the well-being of people that we love. So take care for now.